Thanks so much, everybody, for coming out to the farm today. My name's Kate Ortiz. I'm with Public Health, and it's great to have so many partners here and get to show you around the farm. And so first off, I want to introduce our executive, Dow Constantine.
Well, good morning. Very excited to be here today, and I'm really looking forward to the tour. We were just talking about how we're coaxing along these vegetables and plants to produce food for folks throughout South King County, and I'm really pleased that we're having such success here at Elk Run. I'm really here to thank the staff, the volunteers, the partners who helped turn a former golf course into productive farmland. Farmland that is delivering fresh produce, in this case, to food banks throughout South King County. And I particularly want to thank the South King County Food Coalition for creating a partnership that made this special place possible. I'm really proud that two of our departments, the Department of Public Health and the Department of Natural Resources and Parks, have been there as strong partners with both grant funding and technical assistance to help make this a success. And it's not just our own departments. The King Conservation District, our strong partner, has been really helpful in delivering on our shared commitment to increase access to healthy, nutritious food in our community. A few years ago, I launched something called the Local Food Initiative. And that really was designed to take on multiple priorities that we have. The priority certainly of making sure that we are having a healthy farm economy, that the lands that we want to set aside for agriculture are actually used for agriculture and that they're being productive, that we're bringing up a new generation of farmers here in King County, because that's a critical part of the equation, that people are learning to farm, that people are learning how to be able to be successful on the land here, and also that people locally have access to healthy, locally grown food. And folks respond by saying, well, that's great. What exactly does it look like? Well, this is what it looks like. This is one of the things that it looks like. Communities coming together to create an operation that is growing fresh produce for folks who just don't have access to it. The fact is that I think 1 out of 5 families across South King County at times does not have enough food, and certainly does not have enough healthy, fresh food. And so here we are taking an old golf course and turning it back into productive farmland that can supply that for folks throughout our community. Strengthening the food economy, creating locally produced food, making sure it's available, not just to those who are in search of that unique boutique item and are willing to pay top dollar, but to everyone in our community is really critical. This isn't just trendy. This isn't just a precious thing that you might see on Portlandia, right? This is something that is necessary for us to live securely, to live healthfully, to have good land use here, where we can all enjoy the benefit of land that has been preserved for agricultural and rural uses. And the work that you're doing meets all of these policy priorities that we created. So thank you. Thank you for making this possible. And thanks to every partner who helped make Elk Run Farm a success, and to the families of South King County. We're excited that we're able to bring this produce to you. Thank you very much.
And now I'd like to introduce Maria Anderson, who's the Elk Run Farm manager.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the farm. Especially grateful that you all chose to brave the farm on the hottest week that we've had so far. It is going to be pretty hot the next couple days, so thank you again for coming out to the farm. We are currently farming 4.5 acres of the old Elk Run Golf Course in Maple Valley. The history of the property and the project is that this was a golf course for many years, and when it closed its doors, the owner met with a local Rotarian and the director of Rotary First Harvest, and they had a discussion about what this land could look like in the future. And that eventually landed at the door of the South King County Food Coalition. My boss and the directors of the food banks across South King County decided that starting a farm was a fantastic idea. They jumped in with both feet, and we have been working on the project for about 2.5 years. It's been a really successful project, in part because of the partners that we've been able to bring on board. Dow mentioned several of the partners that we work with. Local Rotarians have been incredibly active in helping us get this project off the ground. We came to them after we realized that we weren't going to be able to get the infrastructure funding that we needed to really make this project into a working farm and not just a garden. And we put together a plan to go to all 12 Rotary clubs in South King County and get funding from each of them to support this endeavor, because it would be reaching all of the food banks across South King County. So they've been a super critical partner. Rotary First Harvest, in addition to being part of that original conversation, has also been supplying us an AmeriCorps Vista for the last 3 years, and the last 2 years has hosted an AmeriCorps NCCC team that has come to the farm and actually built the infrastructure that the Rotarians gave us the money to build. So that has been a really critical partnership as well. And KCD and Public Health have been fantastic supporters and partners from the beginning in terms of both funding and technical expertise from both of those organizations. So thank you all so much. Elk Run Farm and the Elk Run neighborhood got its name because there are elk and deer that live in this valley, which is part of the reason that we have a big fence around our main growing area. Our acreage does extend a little bit beyond the fence, but this is sort of our impact zone that we're spending the most time in. And there are a number of other wildlife here that like to nibble on our vegetables as well as the deer. We have rabbits and other things. The neighbors have seen bobcats and coyotes around this property too, so we're sort of on the wilderness edge of South King County. The farm, though we've been working on the project for the last 2.5 years, has only been growing vegetables for about a year. We got water the middle of last summer, so we had sort of a half season, and this is the first full season that we've been able to actually grow vegetables with irrigation on the farm. So we grew a modest amount of vegetables last year, and we're on track to be growing several thousand pounds of vegetables this year, which is deeply exciting for us. And we will be going up and taking a tour of said vegetables here shortly. And I just wanted to mention as well, we'll talk about this more in the tour, but the future of Elk Run Farm, as well as the past, is focused on not just providing food to the communities in South King County, but also to providing education. And that happens on the farm with our volunteers, with school groups that we have, and it happens in the food bank with cooking demonstrations and nutrition, and really branding a locally produced food to the consumers that are consuming in the food bank. And that's really, really important to us. It has been from the beginning. So though growing food will always be our #1 priority, education and talking about the food economy and the broader food system is near and dear to our hearts at Elk Run Farm. So thank you all so much for being here.
And now I'd like to invite Barb Shimizu up here, who's the director of the South King County Food Coalition.
All right. Well, this is an amazing gathering. Thank you so much for all coming out in a busy time. Executive Constantine kind of made note that we have a very high rate of food insecurity down in South King County. In addition to that, the equal access to food is a problem, as you've noted, and consumption of fruits and vegetables is the worst down here. So this really makes this a very, very important project. I see a couple of our food bank folks here, Verla from the Kent Food Bank, Chris from the Des Moines Area Food Bank. Are there other food banks here? I know Dan from the Maple Valley Food Bank, and I think Angela from White Center partners planning to come as well. But these guys, I know, are working super duper hard to try and help relieve this problem for folks, and they're doing their best. For example, several of our food banks have started to shift their purchasing from things like mac and cheese and ramen to milk or eggs or fresh produce from local farms. So that's a way that we can help impact local food economies just in our work. Unfortunately, though, we're also very dependent on donations. And donations of produce tend to be a lot of the stuff that people don't want anymore. It may be a little bit older, it may not be sellable, the shelf life may not be very long. And so this is really critical to bring something into our food banks. So you can imagine what it's like for our agencies to kind of have this plastic bag of some lettuce mix and like give it out saying, oh, there's a lot of good stuff in there. You can sift through it and find some good stuff in there. As opposed to when you look at the lettuce that you're going to see up on the farm, it's a whole different story. And it's very exciting to be able to give that out. The other day, this is more than just about the handout, because the other day we were having a meeting at Des Moines Area Food Bank, and we had this knock, knock, knock on the door. And it was a couple who came in and they said, do you have some plants? And I was kind of like, what does that mean? We're a food bank. And then I realized that we'd been giving out some tomato plants and stuff that we'd had from the farm. And that's what they were looking for. And Chris mentioned that when we had been giving out those tomato plants, one client had pulled her aside and said, this is the best thing I've ever gotten here. So it's not just about handing out, it's also about empowering people and reconnecting people to their food and to good and healthy food, teaching them what it is, how to use it, how to prepare it. And so we feel like we can, as we're helping people move. Of course, there are some people who are always going to be in need of a food bank, senior citizens and disabled people and people with mental health issues, but there are a lot of people who come to our door because they've lost a job or they have a medical problem, and then they move back into society. And those people are going to become consumers as well. And so we're really going to be grateful to try to push them towards consuming all the good things that our local farms provide. So thank you so much. This is a unique opportunity to work together with so many different parts of our society. I saw the owner here, Daryl. Thank you so much for using the land. Thank you so much. On a day like today, we really appreciate the water that came with it. So thank you for that, and thanks to all of you. We hope to grow this farm, and we hope to replicate it elsewhere as well. And so you've been so important. We hope that you'll continue to support us in this endeavor. Thank you.
And before we start our tour, I just wanted to take a moment to yet sings praises of this group a little bit more. But first wanted to thank everybody again for coming out. In particular, thank you to the mayor, Sean Kelly of Maple Valley, for coming out and for hosting this farm here in your community. I've been honored to work with the South King County Food Coalition and their partners over the past 3 years. And as you can tell from hearing Barb and Maria talk, that these women are truly passionate about this work. And it's not only is it obvious, but it's infectious. And they are a force in their communities. And we're so excited to have you here, Executive Constantine, to visit, because we really feel like the farm here is an excellent example of your local food initiative and how it can bring together different parts of the food system. We have land here that was not being utilized, and it's now being put into production. We have 2 new farmers working the land here and learning those skills, and also teaching new farmers through the process. And then we have produce being grown that's really changing the type of foods that is being seen in food banks. And as we talked about already, that Public Health and Department of Natural Resources and Parks have really been honored to partner with the farm on making this possible. And we have provided funding to help bring on the staff and to help with some of the infrastructure, like that well pump to get the water out of the ground. And then a lot of the seeds that you see now growing in the fields. We've also helped with growing the capacity of the organization to continue this work beyond this time, and to help make some vital connections in the community beyond what might be traditional food bank and farm partners. And At Public Health, we feel like partnering with organizations like the Coalition is relatively new work for us, but it's very intentional. We know that healthy foods are expensive, and we know that families often have to choose cheaper, less nutritious foods or have to skip meals. And as was mentioned before, we also know that there are higher rates of chronic disease amongst a lot of these individuals, and particularly here in South King County, there's higher rates of diabetes and heart disease than compared to countywide. And this, as Barb was mentioning, this is a part of a growing movement across the country and across the county here of food banks, of kind of looking at traditional food banking in a different way and really putting an emphasis on healthy foods. And so the farm is just one example of that, and we're really proud to play a role in helping to support and amplify that effort. Of course, food banks are only one facet in addressing hunger in our communities, but we feel like it's a really important way to, the farm is a really important way to create a strong and vibrant food system and to ensure that all county residents have access to healthy foods no matter where they live or what their income is. And we really feel like Elk Run Farm is a great model to putting that underutilized land into production and then getting fresh, locally grown foods into the food banks.